From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, December the 1st, 2023. A week-long temporary truce between Israel and terror group Hamas was violated this morning by Hamas when it failed to provide a list to Israel of hostages to be released today and fired rockets into Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said the Hamas-ISIS terrorist organization has violated the outline. It has not met its obligation to release all of the women hostages today and has launched rockets at Israeli citizens. Upon the resumption of fighting, we emphasize the government of Israel is committed to achieving the goals of the war, releasing the hostages, eliminating Hamas, and ensuring that Gaza never again constitutes a threat to the residents of Israel. The Times of Israel cited a White House National Security Council spokesperson backing up Israel, saying that Hamas has so far failed to produce a list of hostages that would enable a further extension of the pause, and said that President Joe Biden and his team will continue to remain deeply engaged as we look to free the remaining hostages and sustain and expand the international humanitarian response. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who was just in Israel, was also cited, telling reporters as he left the COP28 climate conference in Dubai today, it's important to understand why the pause came to an end. Blinken saying it came to an end because of Hamas. Hamas reneged on commitments it had made. In fact, even before the pause came to an end, it committed an atrocious terrorist attack in Jerusalem, killing 3 people and wounding others, including Americans, referring to the shooting attack yesterday. It began firing rockets before the pause ended, and as I said, Blinken noted it reneged on the commitments it made in terms of releasing certain hostages. And rocket barrages targeted southern and central Israel today with red alert sirens sounding in places like Rishon LeZion, Hulon, Ashdod, and Rehovot. And in the southern community of Nirim, 5 IDF soldiers were reportedly wounded as a result of a rocket attack. 3 were listed in moderate condition, 2 were lightly hurt. The IDF responded to the rocket fire from Gaza with airstrikes on Gaza, hitting, it said, over 200 terror targets. It also published information and a map regarding the evacuation of Gazan civilians, saying the map published divides the territory of Gaza into zones according to recognizable areas. This enables the residents of Gaza, the IDF said, to orient themselves and to evacuate from specific places for their safety if required. The IDF also responded to rockets fired at northern Israel from Lebanon and at terrorist cells in Lebanon. Israel's President Isaac Herzog was at the climate conference in Dubai today, where he said, I met dozens of leaders from around the world, including the King of England and the President of the European Union. Herzog said, I spoke with them about how Hamas blatantly violates the ceasefire agreements and repeated again and again the demand to place the release of the hostages at the very top of the international community's agenda, alongside respect for the right of the State of Israel to defend itself. Well, 137 hostages are believed to still be held in Gaza. 115 men, 20 women, and 2 children on what is now their 56th day in captivity since being abducted during Hamas's massacre on October the 7th. Over the last few days, some information has emerged from the released hostages and those who are treating them about what they went through in captivity. Dr. Itai Pesach, director of Safra Children's Hospital at Sheba Medical Center, who has treated some of the released hostages, was cited at a press conference by the Times of Israel saying he has heard testimonies that are hard to bear. Speaking of what they endured physically and mentally, he said, I feel the need to make their cry heard. The world needs to know how evil and cruel the behavior of Hamas is. 110 hostages have been returned home, including 8 late last night. And as we continue to pray for all of the hostages to be returned home safely, we share some of those images last night of those emotional reunions of the hostages finally back with their loved ones. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS. For Friday, December the 1st, live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8:30, New York clergy and educators talk about the essential question of Jewish identity. At 9:30, it's the film Starting Over Again, providing first-hand accounts of Jews leaving Egypt from the time Israel became a state. At 10:30, a replay from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up next, a look at this week's Torah Portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, December the 1st, 2023. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.